Right then, so I've just brought this back into my dining room table. So, and you can see this little bit here I've ironed. The rest of it I haven't so far. I just want to show you the method that I use. I put my iron on steam, yeah, and I'm hovering above. I got the steam button held down, and I'm hovering above. So I'm literally, oops, bit of dirty water there. Hovering above, okay? Because if I put the weight of the iron on the fabric, I would be making the batting, go to nothing. So I'm just hovering, okay? Literally hovering with the steam on. And that's what I do to iron the back of the quilt. And as you can see, just by using our 505 spray, no pins or anything, we've done that crisscross on the back to really stabilise it now. And as you can see, there's no puckers, no wrinkles, no nothing. The 505 spray held the fabric exactly where I wanted to, even though I was manipulating it underneath the sewing machine. So that's the other side of the quilt, and you can already see, just by doing that hatch around the large squares, that stitch in a ditch has made these squares puff a bit, which is the whole point of it's lovely, isn't it? It's already making it puff up. Now, if you're just doing stitch in a ditch, my suggestion to you would be that you could do, I hope you can see this one down here. No, let's take this one you can see. Just stitch down the quarters of the other piece blocks, and then go all the way around the outside of the inner frame, and then we'll come back to what we'll do on the borders. That's if you just want to do stitch in a ditch. Now I'm going to take you to the machine and show you another way of doing a straight stitch, but doing more of a pattern on the piece blocks. Just before we stop to do the next thing I want to show you, I'm just getting a can of this. Now this is silicone lube. I bought it for £6.49 at the local car spare parts auto centre type place. It won't affect your fabric. It's very, very light, the lightest type of lubricant you can get. I'm spraying it on my bottom bit, yeah, and I'm just gonna rub that in. And the reason why I'm doing this is because just by spraying that little bit of lube on there, this has now become as slippery as anything. Okay, so that's one thing I do that helps me just move the quilt that much easier. Now the next thing I want to talk about is I'm going to be quilting on these coloured panels, yeah, and I thought it might be nice this time. It's going to be a straight stitch to use a variegated. So here's 3, yeah, and I'm kind of looking at them. I think that's too dark. That's got blue, that's got... Yeah, this one has got lighter colours in it. So I think I'm going to go with that one. Okay, so I'm just going to put that all together up on my machine. Alright, so, oh, it's a warm one today. I've just positioned this under my needle. Taking the weight of it on my lap, and I popped in that variegated thread And I'm going to, I'm doing the square above my centre square, okay? And I've put on, this is again, it's another AccuFeed needle, so it's a AccuFeed foot, so it's a walking foot. This one is called my HP2, so it's high precision. The reason why I'm using this one, you can use any walking foot, but I know that the width of this right hand peg of the foot is 1/4 of an inch, yeah? So I am just going to keep the outside of that foot running down my stitch centre so that I know that I'm stitching 1/4 of an inch away all the way, like, and it's going to be like a tram line, okay? So again, starting, so this is like not stitching a ditch, actually stitching on top of the quilt, but if you can stitch in a ditch, then you can certainly do this if you fancy it, just so that you're giving it a bit more decorative work to it, just like the next stage up, if you like. So again, I reel towards me. Oops. I'm going up to 3 because it's top stitch as far as I'm concerned, and just cranking the handle towards me so I know it is going to start where I want it to start, and I am going to press my lock off. Now the onus is on me to move that material, keeping that seam line right on the outside. Oops, don't go without me, wait for me. And again, when I get down to my last stitch, lock off stitch, which basically means it does a couple of stitches all in the same place. Hit the cut button. Right, so let's have a look at that. So as you can see, this is variegated colours. It's going to be more apparent as we go along. I need to turn it around now. Okay. And go across from that side. Again, make sure that needle falls exactly where I want it. Yes, it does. Foot down, lock stitch. Okay, so now I keep going round because I need my seam to be to the right of me for my needle's width. Okay, pop in that under. Cranking my needle down, lock stitch, while I'm here, I'll just cut off the stragglers of where I start the stitch. Okay, and I got one more to do, which is going to come down. Oops. Oh no, went the wrong way. Keep going round. Okay, so now, I hope you can see. Okay, so very simple, and I've used a variegated thing. I've done literally sewn 1/4 of an inch on top of the centre of that block. I could do more and do down the outside and round, but I don't want to over quilt this. You know, I don't want it to be madly quilted, so I quite like that effect. I'm going to do exactly the same on the square beneath this centre block, beneath this lady, so the top and the bottom are the same, but I think I'm going to do something different now on the side ones. I'm still going to use that variegated thread, yeah. But what I'm going to do, and I need to change out some equipment here. Alright, so let me just do that and I'll come back to you. Well, I've just changed my setup so that I put on an ordinary walking foot again now. I'm still using the variegated thread, but in my stitch setup I've chosen one of my pattern stitch, which is what they call a serpentine stitch, so it's a wavy stitch, yeah, and I'm going to go diagonally both ways across this panel, which is the one to the left of my little girl in the middle, okay? Now, do it stage at a time. I put on my glove as well because I think I need a bit of help with this at the moment. So, first of all, I'm just going to sew as straight as I can to the centre, alright? So you can see that wavy line coming out behind me. When I got to the centre, I'm using both sides of the inside of this walking foot as being, because, you know, the stitch is wandering behind me, so I'm using the opening as my guide of keeping straight. Okay? Just stop in there because I can see I got a long thread still there. My my lock off did go a little wonky there, but there's nothing, okay? So yet again, I just got to remove the quilt. So you can see now, can't you? I've just done that serpentine stitch right across the middle of this square, and now I'm just lining up. Yeah, that's fine. Need that to go underneath, but there we go. Whew. I want to try and make sure, yes it did, crossed. It's a bit difficult with serpentine, but you've got to try and make it kind of cross on the centre. So now using this open gate, I'm heading towards this edge, this corner. Right. See, here, if I pull it apart, you can see it. See my stitch in the ditch? When it lies naturally, you can't see it. Right, so that's another square done. So I'm just going to do this sort of stitching on the two side pieces, and then that sort of stitching, if you can see that, that sort of stitching on the two end pieces. So that's just giving you a couple of ways in which you can do more creative but still straight top stitching, rather than just always stitching in the ditch. So it does, at the end of the day, will give a nice effect to your quilt. In the next video, I'm going to show you a few more things that you can do for top quilting, a little bit again the next sort of stage, and then we're going to look at what we can do for the borders, and then finally the last video will be adding the binding. I hope you're enjoying it. As I say, don't forget, subscribe, share, hit the bell, and come and join us in Crafty So and So's.